Aye.
Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if we could. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first and only matter on the agenda tonight is Silo Ridge, and we've got essentially 4 portions we're going to be covering. The first part's going to be the field change request protocol. I'd sent emails to everybody with the last revision that we'd received from Mary Ann Johnson, asking everybody to kind of review it, and so we can make a determination as to what we're going to do with the field change protocol tonight. Well, that's kind of changed because at the 5 o'clock meeting that we had, pre-meeting prior to the planning board, we had a conference call with Mary Ann, Julie, myself, Pedro, and Juan discussing Mary Ann's last submission. And there were a couple more changes made and agreed to by everybody present. So it sounds like we've got an end product finally where all parties are in agreement as to what should be in the plan. And essentially it's going to involve adding, there's been a lot of mention of pallets for substitutions, whether it be for trees or shrubs or grasses, that kind of thing. So instead of just talking about pallets, those pallets and what they actually consist of and what's going to be allowed for substitutions are going to be detailed in the list and added to the field change protocol, so it's very cut and dry as to what can be substituted.
So if they can't find something, they could have another
Right,
option.
or if they want to go with an oak, same size instead of a maple.
Like a check.
Right, if it's on that list of species that are allowed to be substituted, it'll be allowed. That's simple. So, without having to go through a massive process. Sharon?
Mr. Chairman, are you able to tell the public who was at the pre-meeting?
It's really irrelevant, Sharon. I'm not going to go there. And we have meetings all the time. This is not a project we can do just at planning board meetings. We have meetings on an ongoing basis, and all the board members are invited to all the meetings that we have. They're always told about the meetings that are coming up. They're very cut and dry. Nothing weird going on with it. Very straightforward. And again, all board members are always invited. They're always notified and more than welcome to come.
As long as there's not a quorum.
As long as there's not a quorum, correct. So, and I mentioned before who was at the meeting today. So it was those people. All right. Pedro, you want to mention anything about the field change protocol? I think we're pretty much settled there. We just need to get the final draft submitted by you so that we can just verify that it is as discussed today and finalize this thing.
Correct.
And what we would do is we'd have the attorney write up basically a resolution adopting the field change protocol and voting on it at the next meeting, if that's the case. Anything from your end? No?
Yeah, no, like I said during our meeting, we do believe that the conditions imposed on the management of landscaping on non-sensitive areas we believe is way too cumbersome. But at this point, it's just all we're doing is going in circles and not getting to anywhere. So we just said just leave it as it is, and we agreed on some of the parameters that we put in there and just move forward.
And my position on it is a pretty good compromise, I think. So it's time to move forward. We've been working on this for a long time. All right. The next issue to review today is a third-party agreement, which essentially is gonna. We've got a resolution that was submitted by our attorney Dave Everett, which would allow, well, for the board to vote on, which would allow for the an agency by the name of Fairway Testing to be approved as a third-party inspector for the Silo Ridge project. Today we're specifically voting on allowing them to be utilized only for the golf course work, not for the remainder of the project, because there hasn't been time to review the process that would be utilized for the remainder of the project and utilizing fairway testing. So the resolution we're going to be looking at tonight and voting on is one, allowing for their use starting immediately for the golf course work that's being currently completed, so that they can monitor and inspect as needed and report to the town with their findings, and the resolution will explain what the conditions are to go with it. Any questions or discussions? Everybody had a chance to review the agreement?
I have a chance to review the agreement, but not Fairway. I don't know of that organization.
Yeah, but essentially, I mean, I'm not familiar with them either. We went through Julie and Dave as far as making a determination as to whether they're acceptable for use or not. Julie, do you want to speak to that, or?
Yeah, they had provided a list of qualifications from Fairway Testing, which shows all of their certifications and qualifications and all the different construction and inspection testing they can do. So it lined up with what is required in the code for the various construction inspections.
So when they're doing the inspections, they'll look at all the fairways, how they're doing it.
Not just fairways, any golf
Right,
course.
it's more,
It could be
right.
any project work done.
Right, for now, during the golf course, it's mostly going to focus on drainage, installing the
Right.
pipes, make sure they're
That's what I mean.
backfilled, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. When it gets to the rest of the project, they'll be doing inspections for the roadways, making sure the subgrade is good, the subbase is good, the asphalt is good, all the drainage piping, all the sewer piping, all the water piping. You know, doing inspections to make sure it's all installed properly and backfilled properly.
Hey, Tone, turn your mic on.
Yeah, make sure everybody turns. Any other questions relating to the fairway testing group?
Just one question. So you guys recommended them? You and Dave?
No, I've worked with Fairway Testing before. Silo was the one who submitted their qualifications for review. I have worked with Fairway Testing before on other projects in other communities, and they've always done a good job.
Yeah, essentially, they, Silo submitted through us, through Larissa, our request to utilize them. That was forwarded to Dave and to Julie, basically, to take a look at it. Is it acceptable? The process to be utilized and so forth. They came back with a positive on it. So given that, we've got a resolution that Dave has written up that we'd like to read and then vote on. And, so Lisa, if you could read the resolution, or whereas.
Yep. I said now therefore be resolved. Now therefore be resolved, the town planning board hereby approves Fairway Incorporated as the third-party inspector for the golf course renovation work, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant and the Fairway Incorporated shall comply with the third-party inspector procedures to be prepared by Roy Silica and Andrews and to be approved by the planning board. 2, the town code enforcement officer and the town engineer will retain the authority to make inspections of the golf course renovation work as needed to ensure compliance with the town code, approved golf course renovation plans, and all its applicable laws. Number 3, the planning board reserves the right to revoke this approval and require a new third-party inspector if Fairway Incorporated is not satisfactory to the town for any reason. 4, as noted in the board's prior resolutions, the applicant is not authorized to conduct any work in the SPO located on land owned by Harlem Valley Landfill Corp. until an amended secret findings, an amended special use permit, and an amended MDPA have been approved by the planning board. 5, all applicable planning board approvals and conditions related to the golf course renovation work shall remain in full force and effect. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be filed in the town of Amenia's clerk's office within 5 days of its adoption.
Okay, before we vote, any further discussion on it?
Motion to accept.
Okay, need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second, please.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call?
Joseph Fontaine,
Yes.
Pete Claire,
Yes.
John Stephanopoulos.
Yes.
Anthony Rubistelli.
Yes.
Bill Kroger.
Yes.
Sign for your names, please.
Do we have a new code enforcement officer yet?
No. I asked about that today and they haven't figured out how they're going to operate it yet.
Okay.
No, have they said that to anybody yet?
Have they posted for that yet, or?
They were going off a list that they're no longer going off of, and now they are posting this. So I'm not sure if it's
Okay.
posted already or Shore.
All right, so they're probably going through Dutchess County first.
So not North Shore.
I did go to the last town board meeting, not representing the planning board, but representing myself, and I recommend that they consider taking on John Penning, not on a part-time basis, to deal exclusively with silo. And they considered them like a request during an executive session and voted not to do it.
Right, not to do it, right,
So
yeah.
that's nothing I can do about that at this point, which is fine. Yeah, that's their option, it's their choices. I just figured that John had the, what's that?
Sign the bottom of that, please.
Oh, sorry. Just figured John had the background information on it, would be the best person for it, you know? All right, the next matter is bonding. I guess, Julie, you want to speak to where we're at with that as far as from your perspective goes?
Sure, I've started my review of the unit costs, the cost estimates for the various required site improvements, and also for the wastewater treatment plant as part of the Transportation Corporation approval. I have to go over some of the form with Dave Everett, the planning board attorney. So hopefully we can get that taken care of next week, but still being worked on.
And the priority from your standpoint is get the wastewater treatment plant bonding
Yeah,
process
so,
established
yeah,
first.
there's two, or I guess several bonds that we're gonna have to
Right.
put in place, but for the Transportation Corporation, in order to receive a consent to form from the town, one of the criteria we gotta meet is the town engineer has to review the wastewater treatment plant and conveyance system to ensure that the drawings are complete. In addition to that, the town engineer has to agree upon the bonding amount for the completion of that treatment plant, as well as the operational guarantee for any deficit during the first 5 years. So for us, if if we can get that going, because the Transportation Corporation process is a little lengthy, and then after that, well, so we would need the remaining balance of the bonds that will be put in place.
Hey, John, you want to turn that thing off?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that hot in here, so. Yeah.
A little hard to hear.
Makes it hard to hear, yeah. Thank you, much better. All right, and that pretty much wraps right into the Transportation Authority that we were talking about. That's, should have the information on that you were saying next week.
Yeah, that's the goal we're working towards.
And then after that, that would be submitted to the town board for,
Right.
they have to approve that, so.
And so, understanding that where we're at, we probably will make the formal application to receive a consent to form the Transportation Corporation.
Right.
And then upon that, then the town board can act once they receive the information from Julie. They have to then, refer that to the Department of Health, as well as the Dutchess County Planning Department and Dutchess County Wastewater Authority,
Right.
and then it gets back.
Have your folks been working with the town board at all as far as prepping them to know what to expect and what the process is going to involve? Or?
Yeah, Peter Weiss prepared a memorandum on the process. That memorandum was also reviewed by Town Council. Town Council did their own memorandum
Okay.
for the town board, because the town board has to make a decision to either allow us to form the Transportation Corporation or decline it within 62 days that we make the application. We felt it was prudent to make sure that both Julie was further along in her review, so that when we make the application, Julie's review could be concurrent with that, and also that the Department of Health had reviewed the application as well. And we've been working with the Department of Health over the last 4 weeks. We pretty much have all of their concerns resolved, so we should be able, everything's coming to the time where we feel comfortable now to make that application. And then once we do that, then we'll start working directly with the town board and I guess the planning board as well.
Okay. Any other matters that you folks want to discuss this evening while we're here? I think we've covered all the things that we had on the agenda at this point. No? Okay.
You know, so I guess the board knows, we submitted the draft finding statement. Of course, it is a town planning board document, so now the consultants and the planning board will have to review it.
And just so everybody knows, again, and you're all included on these emails that I've
Yeah.
gotten, everybody's CC'd on these, so, you know, I get concerned if people do things are suspicious sometimes, but everybody's CC'd. We've got a conference call on Friday. Conference call is gonna involve the attorney. I think Julie, you're on it, right?
Yes.
Marion Johnson's gonna be on it, I'm gonna be on it. Silo's not gonna be on it. It's, the conference call is so that we can review basically the submission, the secret submission, findings of submission, and determine how we're gonna process this whole thing, to get it together and, you know, move forward with it. It's a big process. It's a big
10
document.
o'clock, right?
Yes.
10 o'clock was it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
We also submitted last week, or this week, we submitted the revisions to the MDP, also all the response to comments to both the town consultants as well as public comments. We also submitted the revised environmental assessment form,
Addendum to.
the addendum to the environmental assessment form per the comments received both from Dr. Clemens and the town consultants, and so that is also all in place. And that, we put another copy as well, is in our website one? All of that is on our website as well?
I had it on the Dropbox, whatever list you went down, I had it on the Dropbox, and everyone got the Dropbox email,
Yeah.
but I didn't receive any of the drives that you said you were going to send to the board members. They were supposed to have
Oh, the little
additional
drives?
copies. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll drop those.
But as far as the town site goes,
They're given to the
to Gretchen.
person who took,
Okay.
yep, to Gretchen, and
Right.
she said she put them in.
All right, good.
And then, well, I guess if the planning board wants, we'll also put copies at the
Yeah, a lot of this
library.
process, if people want hard copies in particular, and they're just massive documents, so, you know, a lot of stuff's being sent digitally to you. If you're looking through it and you have a particular need to get hard copies on any particular part of it, just, you know, let us know, or Lon, or whatever, and, you know, people can pull things together, but, you know, it's just, it's a lot of documents, a lot of paperwork. All right.
For anyone who wants to be involved in the Friday call, I've gotten, I think there's one more spot left. If Eric said you might want to make it, Tony, you said you would like to make that phone call on Friday?
Yep.
If anyone else can make it, just let me know. There is the findings, which I emailed, I didn't print them out because they're around 150 pages back and forth. So if you need it resent to you, so you can go ahead and take a look at it before the conference call, let me know, and I'll resend the email.
Can you resend it to me?
Tell me if you can open it,
Yeah.
and I resend it to you.
Okay.
Anything else? Any questions? Anybody? I think I need well, we got minutes to approve,
Yeah,
I'm
we're going
sorry.
to do some other matters real quick.
I always do
okay?
that to you.
I really, it's okay. So Julie had submitted her Nano Brewery
yeah.
comments. Now, they weren't on the agenda, just because there wasn't time to place them on the agenda.
We can discuss that real quick, though.
Yeah, I spoke to Jeff today, and Julie also, regarding the matter, and I think he wanted to have the opportunity to speak to her. Julie asked if we could pass it through you, if that's okay with you, for Jeff
sure.
to reach out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm
That's
happy to
your
answer any
choice.
questions.
I mean, the question I'm getting a lot from everybody, and I know the answer to it. I mean, everybody's saying, oh, do they have to do a Board of Health approval and so forth? I mean, basically, we got to know that they've got a septic, and we've got to know that they've got potable water, so.
Right, I mean, the concern is the age of the septic. The wastewater that comes from the brewing process is very different than residential waste, has different characteristics. Even after you remove the solids and screen the solids, the liquid itself. So if it's a very old septic or if it's undersized, it might not be able to handle the particular characteristics of, the brewery wastewater. I mean, I realize it's a small quantity, but at this point, they don't have any information about what the septic system
Right.
is.
I think that's a fair request.
But do they have any quantity, size, how much discharge they're gonna do, or they don't have?
Yeah, they have,
They do,
They gave
yeah.
numbers, yeah.
They have the
Yeah.
discharge, how much do we
Yeah,
discharge?
it's small
Yeah,
numbers.
So what, 5 kegs or something?
They're doing 150 gallons,
Yeah,
150
there you go.
gallons of
Yeah.
water. 50
Because I wasn't
gallons
at
of
that
this.
meeting, so it was 150 gallons, we still have to do a whole drill on that whole system?
Well, to see what the system is, if it's just
And for all we know, they've
You
got
know,
one perforated pipe that goes
Right.
out from a, there's no, you gotta at least know what they got.
right.
Yeah.
That, we have no idea.
So that's
Yeah,
where
it
we
could
are
be a
with that.
cesspool, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Could be a point well there also, who knows?
At one time, there's a restaurant in there, in that barn.
And that barn was a restaurant?
Yeah.
What?
Wait,
Right in front, right
Luther's
the first
Barn?
door.
you're talking about when they had the,
Yeah,
the
there's
sale
a-
there?
There's a whole
Yeah.
counter, there used to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There
Little
used to
County,
be
yeah.
used to be a soda fountain machine and everything.
Back before the Board of Health days.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
remember
say,
going
I
in there,
wasn't-
it was really, because I have the house across the street.
Oh.
So I walked in there and
Yeah.
it was a cool little,
Yeah, they used to do the auctions there and all that stuff.
yeah, it had auctions, it had a little, 7, 8, maybe 10 people counter. That's a cool concept.
Okay, what else did you have, Lisa?
The minutes that I have given everyone, the 5:13 minutes,
Mhm.
emailed them to you and printed them out for you.
Yep.
So if
Need a
they're
motion?
acceptable, make a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the 5:13 minutes.
Need a second on it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it, Martha.
Okay, very good. I need a motion to close the meeting.
Motion, any public comment first?
I asked before.
We're good?
Well, I could ask a question,
Oh, sure, go ahead.
but it's up to you whether you want to entertain it or not.
Go ahead, go ahead, Sharon.
I understand.
Mrs.
that
Kerr,
you're-
can you please stand?
Yes, yeah.
Sharon Crooker. I would ask a question, and that is that the issue that I raised in the comment period evidently had some answers that were made available to you in the records. I haven't read them yet, but
Okay.
I'd be curious about how you are reviewing them. In other words, you've heard from me, now you've heard some
Right.
answers. Now, what is it that you guys are going to do with that? Are you going to discuss it among yourselves, or what?
The conference call on Friday is in large part exactly what you're talking about. We're going to be discussing on how to proceed with not just that, but also the finding statements and all the other materials that are going to be coming in final form, in one way or the other, and how we're going to process this amongst the attorney, the consultants, the engineer, the planning board members, and so forth. So that's it requires some organization to determine how it's going to get processed. But essentially, they're all going to be looked at. They're all going to be looked at and reviewed by everybody. With the comments, the consultants are particularly experts in those fields. The engineering portions, Julie will be doing it. The legal portions, each consultant will do the respective areas as far as reviewing comments, reviewing all the reports that are being submitted. It's just the normal process.
Just to be sure that we're making the distinction, any inputs you get from experts and others is all to the good, but what you decide to do with it is a separate activity,
Correct.
and we'd like
sure.
to know
And
where you are
that'll,
with that activity.
and all that'll be discussed openly in planning board meetings and televised as they have been in the past. When it comes to that point, when we get to the portion about we're going to be discussing the comments that were submitted, Silo's responses, and what the planning board's determinations are according to them. That'll be done openly in these meetings.
Sharon, it was like the last time. You remember when we did the 300-room hotel, and then we had to make all the decisions, and then we had to do underground parking, and then we had to get everybody gathered together. We had to find all the finding statements. It's kind of a ditto. We're doing the same thing, but not that big of an impact. But then all of us discuss it. What did you think about the hotel? I mean, it's kind of thrown off a little bit what me and you, but it's basically we're going to gather all the information Friday. Well, but it's really not.
It was a planning process.
Well, this is a big planning process also.
Now, this is a decision.
Well, but we're still going into planning mode. For us, we have to get all the experts involved, and everybody has to have a discussion. Then they come back with the expert discussion to us, and then we have a discussion. So it's the same process.
There'll be meetings discussing the comments and the planning board's responses to it.
Because we're not experts with any of that.
Any other questions at this point? Yeah. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting closed.